guys, my name is Michael and welcome to a new GTK tutorial. In this video we are going to learn something new, and as you can already notice, you had to deal with this function in 5 videos, which means I had to make 5 videos just to introduce you this function. Well, in this video we are still not done with it, but I'm going to introduce you another one as well. So basically the last thing which I want to introduce you, I kept it for the last part of this introduction, because after that at some point you will need to work with what you are going to learn now. And what the thing which I'm talking about, it is the return. The handle ID of type GU long, which is always greater than 0. What exactly means? Means that if you save the information which returns the ID which it gets returned from this function, you can basically later, with the help of this ID, manipulate this function and information which you are interested in. What exactly means you will see later, but now let us concentrate only on this part. So we need to declare a variable of GU long. I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to say signal ID, and because we have it, we can use a if statement y just to show you how it's working, because it says always greater than 0. So basically if you say if is not signal ID, then you say gprint sorry, we have no ID, for example. If it is equal to 0, else if it's not equal to 0, gprint we have an ID, which is %u long, sorry, lu, another way, and of course here we are going to say signal ID. And now when I compile it and run it, what do we have? We are storing the result, the return of the GSignal Connect inside of this one. And once that we have it there, basically we are checking if the signal ID is equal to 0 or is not, and if it's so, we have no ID will be printed, else we have an ID and the ID will be printed. So the ID which will get printed, if it will get, and it is, you see 43, it is the ID which it's unique for your application, and you cannot manipulate it until you are done with it or until you release it to can use it later with another call. So in other words, if you are interested about this ID, and I will show you later how and where you need it, then it is better for you from now on that you understand it and that you have it. Okay, that being said, I'm going to close now the program. I'm going to remove this part here because it's not important now. I think you already noticed what I was telling you, and you understand it for a second. You will understand it later. Okay, that being said, we are done with this function, and the next function which I'm going to introduce you, it is called GSignal Connect Swap. This function basically says connects a gcallback function to a signal for a particular object. Basically it is the same thing like here, connects a gcallback function. You see, the main difference of this function is that the instance of which the signal is emitted and the data will be swapped when calling the handler. This is useful when calling pre-existing functions to operate purely on the data rather than the instance. Swapping the parameter avoids the need to write a wrapper function. So for example, this allows shorter code like in this one here rather than this one, and so on. Okay, basically as you can see, we have 4 parameters which are the same: the instance, the detail signal, the C handle, and the data. What exactly means? You remember, like I told you in the last videos, when you are working with GSignal Connect, then you need to understand 4 things. The first one, you need to understand that this function basically let you to monitor a signal on a particular object, like this in case the window. If this signal happens, then on this window, then this callback will be called, and because this call will be called, the message which we create here will be passed to this function. And of course we know that the first parameter of the GSignal should match with the first parameter of your callback function, and the last parameter of the GSignal connect should match with the last parameter of the callback function, no matter how many are. If there are 3 or if there are 2, always is the first and the last one. Okay, so that being said, this is the way how it's working. Now I'm going to swap a little bit. I'm going to change the calls of these two ones with like this. Now the destroy signal, it will be less. Why I do this? Not because it changes something between them. You already noticed that nothing's happened because of the flag which use the GSignal connect, which is the run last, but because I want to be more sure that you understand it. So I'm going to make a copy of this one. I'm going to comment out this call, and now watch what happens now if we call the swept. Okay, so instead of calling GSignal connect, we are calling GSignal swap. So why? Let's see what exactly happens. Until here nothing, just nothing, because we are not doing something. But once that I click this button, then the signal which is monitored, it gets catched, and then the function is get executed. Wow, as you can see, it says have a nice day, and then we get segmentation fault, which means we got a segmentation fault. We already know that here, and with this call it was happening. Why? Well, because we were swapping this one with this one, which means that these two right here, they are not matching anymore. Which means why? Well, the object now is the data, and the data here, it is now the instance, the window in this case. So Windows matches now the data, and the object matches now the information which you pass here. If you want to be sure, or if you want to check that I'm right, we will do it right now. And I'm going to say, let's say I'm going to make a little bit changes here just to be 100% that you understand. So object and data, you see I did some changes, and I'm going to say now if GTK is window the data, you see I'm checking the data now, g print yes we have a window, for example. I mean it is the window, and of course I'm going to let it right now like this, because I want to be sure that you understand. So now check what happens when I compile it around the program, because it's very important that you understand exactly these steps. As you can see, it says yes we have a window, and the program gets terminated because everything is fine. We are ignoring this object. So basically in this kind of cases, one should already do something like this: GTK window, for example, and then window. No, sorry guys. Const g char const message, and then here I'm going to say the message is %s, okay, and message. So what do you think is happening right now? Now we have a message, and we have the object, and we have the data. In this case, because I switch it, I was swapping with it. Basically, the message should be the first one, and the object should be the last one, isn't it? Now, what do you think it's happening right now? Let's see. I'm going to compile it and run it. Okay, we have no data, so I'm going to remove this one. What do you think is happening right now? It says if window, yes, okay, because now we need the object to check it, and which means that a void object is not needed anymore. You see, it says yes we have a window, and the message is goodbye. You see, and everything works fine, which means we do have a window, which is the object, and we do have a message, which is the message. You notice something very interesting at this point, the G pointer, which got swapped, because we could, instead of this one, just work with a G pointer. Let me show you. G pointer, data, or the message, wherever, message. Okay, message. And now, because we changed the G pointer, the gchar const message to G pointer message, at this point we can remove this one because now we are working with the object. If I'm going to cast to char the message right here, everything should work fine. I think I pressed the wrong button. Let me be sure that it is the compiling and running and not the running one. Now I'm going to close it. As you can see, the message says goodbye. Okay, so basically, maybe you will say it is not so much important. Of course it is. The first thing first, it is that you can now work with a thing like, I mean, you can work with exactly the same data type which you are passing. In this case, we were passing this one. What happens now if we remove the G pointer right here and we are working only with this one? You see, at this point, if I'm going back to where is manager logs, at this point it says the last argument it is still needed to be the G pointer and not a char. So basically, no matter what you do, the G pointer here cast it is needed, which is true, but you don't need to pass it here. Here you can just pass the exactly same data which matches with this one. In this case, it is a constant gchar pointer. Okay, that is one of the important things which you can do when you are working with GTK Connect Web. The second important thing which you can do, more than just like this, it is that when you call this function, let's say I'm not going to check the window. Okay, I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to remove the if statement, because it is very important for you to understand this. I'm going to compile and run the program the way it is. So, as you can see, I cannot compile it because it says unused parameter object. So basically, I really need to do something. The first thing which you can do, it is to cast it to void, which is a very good thing. Now you can compile it. You see, it is compiling fine, because I silenced the compiler. You can of course use the gnuc unused, which means it's the same like the casting to void, which means you can compile it and run it and everything is fine, you see. Or you can do something much more better. You can now drop it. If you don't need it, don't use it. So the GTK connects web, basically with this function, once that you call it and you're swapping this one with this one, basically you can work only with one parameter in the callback function, which means doing this you don't need to cast, or it's not important you forget to cast your unused pointer at some point when you release a version of the application, that the user see all those unused parameters and so on. So basically this is one of the good things which you can do. There is of course another thing which you can, and this is the last one, which you can work with and you can understand it. If, and I repeat, if for example you don't need to pass the data and still you want to use only one parameter, then this thing happens in the same manner. So watch, I'm going to remove the last parameter here and I'm going to say window. So basically what I'm doing here, it is tricking somehow internally the GTK, because now I'm saying please swap the window with the window. so that I can operate only with one. So in this case, if for example I need only the window, then of course I'm going to say now GTK window, and now we are working only with one G. Return if fail. I'm going to say GTK is window. So now it is perfect, and we have a perfect callback function which works 100%, which means at this point a G return if fail, GTK is window. If we have no window, it will be fail, and if we have a window, then the GTK main quit will be called and everything is fine, you see. But if you pass something wrong, like for example G pointer goodbye, in this case, you see, now watch what happens when the callback gets run. Segmentation fault, you see, and we are out. Okay, so basically this is the important thing which this function does. It is swapping the instance with the data. By doing this, you have two options. Whether you work with both parameters if you need them both, or you work only with one. If you work only with one, or you need only one parameter for your callback, then just work with one. If you need two, then you can work with two parameters as well with the same callback. That being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.